But long before that headline exploded, before camera crews flooded the parking lot, it all started with a poor employee named Ethan Cruz, standing in line at a coffee shop with exactly $5 to his name, and with a stranger whose latte he quietly paid for, a stranger who would later walk into his life as the secret owner of the entire company he worked for. And the moment she recognized him, everything changed. Ethan Cruz was the kind of employee people in the office forgot existed. He came in early, left late, and never complained, not even when his manager, Mr. Dalton, dumped extra work on him or took credit for files. Ethan stayed up all night preparing. At 27, Ethan worked as a junior operations assistant at Silverline Solutions, a company so large that employees on the lower floors rarely even saw executives. Ethan lived in a one-bedroom apartment with peeling paint, a broken heater, and a refrigerator that hummed like it had asthma. He didn't have much, but he was proud of the only thing that mattered. He worked hard, stayed honest, and believed that kindness always found its way back. He had no idea how painfully and how beautifully that belief would be tested. It happened on a Tuesday. Ethan woke up to discover his single pair of polished office shoes soaked from a roof leak that had gotten worse overnight. He dried them with a hairdryer that kept shutting off, running 5 minutes and then giving up like it had lost the will to live. When he finally made it out his door, the bus had already left, so he jogged to the next stop, sweating through his shirt, lungs burning, praying he wouldn't be late. By the time he stepped into Sunrise Cafe, he was exhausted, drenched, and holding on to the last of his energy with one hand and his last $5 with the other. He only needed a cheap black coffee to make it through the morning. But that's when he saw her. A woman stood near the front of the line, dressed in a simple beige coat, hair pinned back in a neat twist, looking frustrated as she searched through her purse. "I'm so sorry," she muttered to the cashier. "My card must have fallen out somewhere. Give me a moment." People in line sighed loudly. A man behind her muttered, "Come on, lady. Some of us have jobs." Ethan watched her cheeks flush with embarrassment. He felt something tighten in his chest. Before his brain could remind him he only had $5 left, he stepped forward. "I've got it," he said softly. The woman blinked. "Are you sure?" He nodded. "It's just coffee." He handed the cashier the money, his heart sinking as his balance for the day dropped to zero. The woman placed a gentle hand over her chest. Thank you so much. I didn't expect." "It's nothing," Ethan said with a shy smile. "Safe to say we've all had mornings like that." She returned his smile, though there was something searching in her eyes, something deeper than gratitude. He didn't think much of it. He just waved goodbye and rushed out. He never asked her name. He never expected to see her again. But fate had its own plans. When Ethan arrived at work, breathing heavily and trying to flatten his wrinkled shirt, Mr. Dalton was already waiting. "You're late," Dalton snapped. "Again." Ethan opened his mouth. "Sir, only by—" "I don't care." Dalton stepped closer, face tightening. "If you weren't so replaceable, I'd have fired you already." Ethan swallowed hard. He needed this job. He needed the paycheck small as it was to keep the lights on. Dalton shoved a stack of papers into his chest. "File these, then clean the storage room. The executive floor wants everything spotless before this afternoon's special inspection." "Special inspection?" Ethan echoed. Dalton smirked. "Wouldn't you like to know? Just stay out of the way. People like you only slow things down. People like you." Ethan had heard that phrase more times than he could count. It never hurt less. He got to work, determined not to let anything break him today. But the storm was coming. Around noon, word spread through the company like wildfire. Someone important was visiting. But not just anyone. Someone powerful. Someone the managers were terrified of impressing. Staff hurried about, wiping surfaces that didn't need wiping, adjusting ties, straightening skirts, rehearsing greetings. Ethan kept his head down, lugging boxes into the storage room, dust covering his hair and shirt. He was reaching for another stack when he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, and his heart almost stopped. It was her, the woman from the cafe. She was no longer in a simple coat, no longer blending into the background. Now she wore a tailored charcoal suit. Security escorted her. Executives followed her like nervous shadows. And she wasn't just walking. She was leading. She didn't see him at first. She was speaking quietly to a board member, her expression focused, poised, light years away from the flustered woman at the cafe that same morning. Ethan stared, stunned. Who was she? Before he could process it, Dalton appeared beside him, whisper shouting, "Don't stare like an idiot. That's Miss Alina Hart." Ethan blinked. "Who?" Dalton looked at him like he had three heads. The rumored new owner of Silverline. She bought majority shares. She's evaluating departments before the transition. He smacked Ethan's shoulder. "If she sees you here, looking like a janitor, we're both dead." Ethan grabbed a dusty box and tried to look busy, though his hands trembled. Miss Alina Hart, owner. And he bought her coffee with his last $5 this morning without knowing. A strange feeling prickled at the back of his neck, but nothing could have prepared him for what happened next. "Mr. Dalton," one of the executives called from down the hall, "Miss Hart wants to see the employee files you compiled." Dalton's face turned pale. Ethan knew why. Dalton hadn't compiled a single document. Ethan had done it all, staying up late, organizing, editing, filing. But Dalton wouldn't admit that. "Cruz," he barked, "bring me those files. Now." Ethan hurried to hand them over, dust still on his shirt, sweat on his brow. But as he approached, Dalton snatched the folder from him and whispered venomously, "Don't say a word." Then he turned to Alina with a rehearsed, respectful smile. "Miss Hart, here are the files I personally prepared." Alina took the folder, flipping through its pages. Ethan saw her expression change subtly, but unmistakably. She frowned. "These documents are surprisingly well organized," she said slowly. "Much better than the other departments." Dalton puffed his chest. "I take pride in my work." She lifted one page, then another, then another. Her brow tightened. "These look familiar," she murmured. Ethan froze. Does she recognize the structure? The handwriting? The formatting he'd created? But before she could continue, a small commotion erupted behind them. A junior employee bumped into a cart, and it crashed loudly, startling everyone. Ethan reacted instantly, reaching out to steady the cart before it hit the ground. Dalton spun around furiously. "Cruz, you useless." He grabbed Ethan's arm so hard that Ethan winced. Everyone turned, Alina included. "Let go of him," she said sharply. Dalton froze. "Excuse me?" She stepped closer, eyes narrowing. "I said let go of him." Dalton released Ethan's arm as if burned, but the damage was already done. Everyone had seen how he grabbed Ethan. Everyone heard how he spoke to him. Still, Dalton tried to recover. "My apologies, Miss Hart. This employee has a history of incompetence, always late, always causing issues. I was just maintaining discipline." A long, chilling silence settled. Ethan felt his stomach twist. Dalton wasn't just going to embarrass him. He was going to ruin him. And then it happened. Alina looked at Ethan again, really looked. Her eyes widened. Her posture straightened. And in a single breath, recognition flooded across her face. "You," she whispered. Dalton blinked. "You know him?" Alina stepped toward Ethan. "You bought me coffee this morning." Dalton's face dropped. Ethan swallowed. Well, it was nothing. I didn't even know." She cut him off gently. You didn't know who I was. You just helped a stranger. Dalton's face twisted with panic. But Miss Hart, he's one of our lowest ranking employees. Barely contributes anything. If you want him gone, I'll fire him right. Stop talking, Alina said quietly. Dalton fell silent instantly. Then she turned fully to Ethan, her expression shifting from warmth to something deeply troubled. Your name is Ethan Cruz, correct? Yes, ma'am. She inhaled sharply. I need you to come with me, immediately. Dalton's eyes widened. Why? What did he do? Alina shot him a look that froze the air. Ethan followed her, heart pounding so hard he could hear it echoing in his ears. They entered the executive conference room. The door shut behind them. Sound vanished. Alina placed the employee file on the table and opened another folder, a thick, confidential one with a red stamp. She pushed it toward him. Ethan, this is the real reason I'm here today. He frowned. I don't understand. She pointed to a page. His breath caught. It was a financial report, one that revealed something horrifying. Silverline Solutions had been quietly closing small regional branches. Dozens of employees were being laid off silently. Others were being pushed out through performance failures engineered by middle management. And on every one of those reports, Mr. Dalton's signature appeared. Dalton? He did all this? Alina nodded. And when I saw the file he claimed he prepared, I realized the truth. Someone else was doing the work. Someone who understands structure, detail, and efficiency. Someone smart. Her eyes met his. You. Ethan felt lightheaded. He wasn't nobody. He wasn't replaceable. He was being used. Alina sat down, folding her hands. I came here undercover to see what kind of management was operating this division. You buying my coffee this morning wasn't fate. It was a warning. A reminder of the kind of people who get crushed the most in companies like this. Ethan's throat tightened. Miss Hart, are you saying... She nodded. Yes, and there's more. She slid another file toward him. It was his employment record. Except Dalton had marked him for termination. Scheduled for Friday. Reason: chronic lateness, poor performance, insubordination. None of it was true. None. Ethan's hands shook as he closed the file. I didn't do anything wrong, he whispered. No, she said softly. You didn't. But Dalton needed a scapegoat. Someone quiet. Someone he thought no one would miss. Her eyes hardened. He was wrong. Alina stood, her voice carrying an edge of steel. Follow me. They walked back into the lobby, where several managers and staff were gathered. Dalton hurried over, smiling nervously. Miss Hart, if he said anything... She raised her hand. Mr. Dalton, she said, voice calm but lethal. You're fired. Gasps rippled through the floor. Dalton stuttered. Fired? For what? For disciplining for falsifying employee records, for abusing staff, for exploiting workers who trusted you. Her voice dropped. And for almost destroying this company. Dalton's face turned purple. You can't! This is outrageous! I've been loyal for 15 years! And in 15 minutes, you accomplished more damage than most bad managers do in 15 years. She gestured toward security. Escort him out. As security took him by the arms, Dalton shouted, You'll regret this! He's nobody! He doesn't deserve! Alina stepped closer, expression stone cold. He deserves more than you ever gave him. Dalton was dragged out, still yelling, until the doors slammed behind him. A deafening silence filled the lobby. All eyes turned to Ethan. His heart pounded. Why was everyone staring? Then Alina moved beside him. I'd like you all to meet Ethan Cruz, she announced. He will be serving as the new interim operations supervisor, effective immediately. The room exploded into whispers. Ethan's mouth fell open. Me? Miss Hart, I don't know if I'm qualified. You are, she said firmly. and you'll get the training and support you've always deserved. She leaned closer. And if you ever need coffee again, it's on me. Ethan laughed softly, overwhelmed. Alina then addressed the entire staff. This company is entering a new era, she declared. An era where people like Ethan, the ones who work hard, stay humble, and treat others with kindness, will finally be seen, heard, and valued. A few employees clapped, then more joined, then everyone applauded. Ethan stood there, stunned, humbled, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: hope. The next morning, Ethan woke up early, put on his best shirt, ironed twice, and walked to Sunrise Cafe again, this time with confidence in every step. A TV mounted on the wall flashed a breaking news headline. Mystery owner of Silverline Solutions revealed fires manager promotes humble employee who bought her coffee. The entire cafe buzzed with excitement. That's the guy, a woman gasped, pointing at Ethan. He's the coffee guy. Ethan's ears turned red. He ordered his drink and turned to leave when he saw Alina sitting in the corner, reviewing documents. She waved him over. Ready for your first day as supervisor? Still nervous, he admitted. Good, she smiled. Nervous people tend to make thoughtful decisions. He hesitated. Miss Hart, why me? Why did you trust me? Her expression softened. Because the rarest kind of person is the one who chooses kindness even when they have nothing to give. She paused. You gave your last $5 to a stranger. Most people wouldn't even give what they had extra. He exhaled slowly. Thank you for everything. She shook her head. No, Ethan, thank you. People like you are why good companies survive.